Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
Well, I consider that homicide, first of all.
Aside from the obvious,
I consider that homicide. Uh,
welcome to the Comedians in Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Laris Macario. Laris like Paris, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
how you doing? My name is Laris. I am an actor and a producer, and I'm in New York. I was born in New York City, and I've been doing this for a while now, but guess maybe 16, 17 years. Professional actor and a producer. So
That's the life, right?
yeah, it's a life for sure.
It is a life. No, I get it. I know. I'm trying to keep it light. So, are you ready to get started, Laris?
Yeah. Ready to rock, man.
Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comments section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build. And we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me. All right. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. So Laris, would you agree that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian?
Um, I always felt like it was the other way around. I always thought the comedian was the artist, and then the comic was the person who just sort of got up and did a bit. Maybe I'm
Well,
wrong.
so no, I mean, again, this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast is because these words are interchangeable. But I was actually told that this is how it is needs to be when you're doing it, at the comedy club. So, so you're saying that you think it's the other way. You start as a comedian and you evolve into a comic.
Yeah, I figured the comedian was the art form, right? Like
Okay. Oh, I see. So it's
he's a
like the higher
comedian,
level.
the overarching umbrella one, and then the comic is a type of a comedian.
Got it. Got it. And so, well,
That's what
what other types of comedians are there then?
maybe clown.
Okay.
Um, People who do like vaudeville work and stuff like that. Maybe
Okay.
like an Eddie Cantor, who's an old school guy. He used to sing and do funny songs, and uh, they were songs and they were really good, but they were also like sort of sing songy and stuff like that. So he was
Got it.
kind of
Got
a
it.
comedian, like a comic singer.
Okay. And so would you add perhaps magician into that subcategory?
Yeah, depending on the edition, like a pen, like maybe like a Penn and Teller, because they incorporate comedy into their bit and stuff. Yeah.
All right. All right. I like your perspective. I put them on equal footing, the comedian and the comic, because two sides of the same coin. But if you put a hierarchy, that
Okay.
definitely makes sense as well. So you
We
ready?
cannot serve two masters. There's got to be one above another, always.
Perhaps that's the dilemma is that, well, in the bifurcated world, what else can you do but serve two masters, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's always one thing that's slightly above something else.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? Everyone's got kind of God in a way.
Absolutely. Well, so there's a particular religion where it's actually the highest level in the matrix is a dual god. So perhaps maybe I'm
Oh,
wrong
okay.
about that, but yeah. So those details.
Well,
Are you ready? Are you
yeah,
ready for the first question, Laris?
sure.
All right. So it's about the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus the real self?
I think to the extent that they're on stage in front of a camera or kind of in essence on stage, I think I think there's always a little bit of a persona. I think it's like for the best comics, it's maybe 60% persona
Okay.
and then 40% authentic. I think there are guys that like Dave Chappelle that make it look as if they're just having a conversation, but
Right.
I can assure you he's very well polished and very well skilled and makes it look as if he's just him talking. And maybe he's like that. I don't know, but yeah, I think a large portion of it is persona.
So would you
Beady,
say
beady, beady.
Dave Chappelle is like a 90% of character?
No, I think no, I think he's more character than not when he's on stage. But he's still, in order for him to be as good as he is and as authentic as he is, I think he has to bring most of himself.
I see. So it's really the other way. He's 10% character, 90% himself. Maybe.
No, I think it's less than that. I think he's more character than just 10%. I don't think he's fully Dave Chappelle on stage. He's probably the real Dave Chappelle when he's at home with his wife and kids.
Right.
But when he's on stage, something happens to us when a camera's rolling or we're in front of other people. We're not fully authentic. I don't think we could be. You know what I mean? Like, how would you be able to tell a story? Because from one bit to the next, like one day to the next, I may not be feeling like it. My authentic self is not having a good time, not having a good day or whatever, but I still got to put on a persona or a mask to go out and do my job, which is to entertain people and provide some semblance of respite for them.
Absolutely. And I noticed that he has some type of fashion statement, personalized fashion statement when he's on stage, right? It's always
Right.
something unique at that
But
moment.
yeah, and that's part of his persona. Is
Right.
his the thing with C, like his brand.
Hmm.
That's not Dave Chappelle doesn't wake up wearing I don't know, but I don't think he wakes up wearing the C Chappelle pajamas like when he's at home. Maybe he does. He probably just wears a t-shirt and whatever, like anyone else, right? Like shorts or whatever. But
If he doesn't do that
even the clothes
eventually,
are a form of persona.
I expect him eventually to do a
Yeah, I'm
Netflix
sure one day.
special. You're like, those are Chappelle pajamas? Like, that's it. We're done. It's over. That's literally
Right.
the pinnacle, right?
I mean, yeah, he's the greatest. He could do it. He could do it in a potato sack suit, and nobody would care. They would watch him, and he's the best. So
So how about punching up versus punching down? So where do comics versus comedians stand on this? And let me put it in some historical context. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
I don't understand the question. Did he become a comedian by killing the court jester?
It's a theoretical question, right? There are some references to Game of Thrones, but no, it's if this were the case, rewriting history.
I mean, how does it? I don't know how he becomes a comedian by killing the jester.
Well, is he? Well,
Is a
would you
comedian are
consider that?
comedians murderers?
Would you consider that act more punching up or punching down?
Well, I consider that homicide. First of all,
Aside from the obvious,
I consider that homicide. Uh, I mean, punching down suggests that you're mocking or making fun of someone of a lower status or rank or class, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know if I mean that's killing the. You mean literally killing the jester? You mean metaphorically killing the jester?
I would go with. I mean, I would go with literally, just to make it pretty clear.
I don't consider that punch. Consider him killing the jester. Huh?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I consider that punching down by that doesn't really. I don't know what that.
It's not under the
Yeah, I
under
said I
the.
don't know if I consider that punching down. From what I consider punching down is not. It's like mocking or joking or messing around with someone. I don't know how that makes it.
No, no. I usually, if I take it to the extreme and it still holds water, then you got something. Obviously, it isn't, so it's not. So, that's the whole purpose of the question. So, would you say that the audience agreement with the comedian is a form of permission or alignment?
Do I think that the audience agreeing with the comedian is a form of permission or alignment?
Hmm.
In what respect?
Well, I guess you could say is it
In what
one or the
respect?
other?
What do you
Would
mean?
you say it's perhaps more permission or more alignment or neither?
I mean, the audience. If the audience goes to watch a comedian, presumably they agree with them on some point. Otherwise, why would they watch him? Unless you're getting like hate fans who like to heckle and watch you to hate you. But that's a stupid person anyway, because they're giving them money. They're giving the guy they hate money, so that's just like,
I
yeah.
mean,
But
I'm
presumably,
sure you've
yes. I
seen
mean,
that
the audience
sometimes,
would
right?
agree with you.
Yeah. All right. So how about
Yeah,
cultural?
that's still stupid because you're making the person you hate rich. You're putting
I
money
don't
in
know.
their
I see it.
pocket.
I
But
think I
anyway,
see it
go
every
ahead.
day. I see it every day. So I'm not surprised by that reality. So, all right. So how
Yeah, I'm
about
not surprised either. Yeah.
I'll try and work with the delay. It's only like 3 seconds, which is like we're going around the world for some reason. But okay,
Yeah.
cultural translation of comedy. So how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
How or why?
Mhm. Either way.
Um, I mean, there's tons of nuance in a particular culture that you would have to live in the culture and grow up in the culture and be absorbed by it for years for you to understand. Language is super can be complex and nuanced, and so can culture.
Right.
Even people that speak the same language, if you think about the Anglosphere, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand,
Mhm.
there's some crossover and stuff like that. But American comics are nothing really like British. If you look like you are in like what's the dude who wrote Office? Gervais. It doesn't necessarily translate to the same level. I think it's just that. It's just ways, social mores, cultural values and stuff like that.
All right. So how does the silence when your joke doesn't land hurt? Physically, emotionally, or morally?
How does the silence when the joke doesn't land hurt?
Mhm.
Um, I think it's almost spiritual. It's almost on a soul level. Because if you think about a joke, right, like the joke comes from you. If you're not stealing jokes, they're
Mhm.
original. If you have original material, it comes from the part of you that's the most you and the rawest you. And if people don't get it, you almost can feel invisible in a way, right? Because
Mm.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is coming from me. You guys, you didn't connect. Oh God, right? Like it's horrible. It's horrible because you're really just the most naked. The naked, you're the naked in the part of you that's unseen, cannot be touched, cannot be reached, and is probably the most true. You know what I mean? Like it's the essence of you, and people don't get it. It's rough.
So, I mean, that's probably sounds like where you're coming from with telling jokes. I see most people on stage are not necessarily coming from such a deep spiritual level. It's more putting on the
Mm.
character, right? So, I would think that it would. So, but I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that as a third option: physically, emotionally, morally, or spiritually. Of all people, I should have added that. So that is going to be my next multiple choice component. So, would you say that comics are more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
Um, again, I would invert it. I think a comedian is more universal than a comic is.
Right. Yeah. For you,
Um,
the way you defined it originally, the way you see it, absolutely. So this is more the polarizing. So I guess I could say, would
yeah.
you say comics are more universal while magicians are more culturally specific, or perhaps a version of that?
No, I still don't think that the comic is universal at all. I think a
Okay.
comic is a very specific breed of person.
Okay.
I don't think that. I think that the jester is universal. The notion of the person who cracks jokes and takes shots at the king, that's a universal sort of archetype.
Mm.
But the comic The comic is almost
The master.
forgive me for saying this. It's almost a watered. It's a watered down jester.
Okay.
Like in the sense that like the comics that I know, they're always sort of doing the bit.
Hmm.
The comedians that I've met, they have something else to say. It's not just the bit. It's more than the bit. They're commenting on
On
the
the bit.
society or the thing that they're seeing or what they're actually observing. What's that?
What about if they're commenting on their own performance?
It, I mean, yeah, but then that's kind of like narcissistic and solipsistic. I think ultimately a comedian is a truth teller, right? Like they're talking about the other stuff, not necessarily themselves.
Got
This
it.
is what I'm saying. Like I think a comic is kind of always commenting on their own performance,
Mm.
whereas a
Okay.
comedian does that as well, but they're sort of scanning the whole room in
Okay.
my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely bringing a perspective that that is I love. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, how about crowd work versus crafted work? So, if comics riff like influencers in the comments section and compete and
Hmm.
comedians perform like in reaction videos, where's the sweet spot?
I think the sweet spot is in the comedian that has the flexibility to do crowd work.
Right.
Because crowd work, if you only do crowd work, but then you don't craft a thing, there's it's fun, it's awesome, and there's a guy, and I can't remember, he's got a beard and he's Canadian. He's probably the best crowd work comic I've ever seen. Um, I think it can become a crutch. Whereas a
Hmm.
crafted bit, you're gonna be able to repeat that over and over and over again, and there's something evergreen about it. You
All
know what I
right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's more long lasting. Like you can watch Eddie Murphy's Raw still today and be like, my God, this guy crafted this whole thing, and it was beautiful. It's almost a work of art. Hence, it's in the word crafting. Crowd
Mm.
work is fun and it's cool, and I'd love to be in the comic just bust my balls or whatever during crowd work. That's fun, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think it's better to be a comedian who's crafted, who can do crowd work as opposed to the other way around.
All right. Very
I don't
important
know if that
question.
answered the sweet spot question.
No, I mean, look, these questions generally don't have a right answer, so it's all about your opinion, right? Okay,
Gotcha.
so very important question. Advertising and self-promotion. Who advertises themselves more? The comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
The magician.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
I'd say the magician.
okay. I don't see too many magician advertisements. Is this local to where you are?
Um, no, but just because I don't see the advertisement doesn't mean they're not advertising like crazy. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
pharmaceutical companies advertise more than anyone, and I barely see any of their commercials. I'll see more of a I don't know Home Depot or whatever, especially with the algorithm and stuff like that. But I would
Right.
assume that a magician they promote a ton.
Huh.
And well, what do you mean by promotion? You mean a legitimate ad, or do you mean just like mentioning themselves and on podcasts or whatever?
Either way. I mean, however you experience, especially now with algorithm, the pharmaceutical commercials are mainly on television, and everything else is on streaming.
I'd say that this is why I say the magician, because the magician could do his act anywhere.
Right.
And I'm not a magician, but I would imagine they're always doing magic tricks, and then handing out their. I would if I was a magician.
Got
I
it.
would find you would find kids, or you would find old ladies or whatever. I would figure out you can do it on the street, whatever.
Right.
They're probably doing. We just don't see it, just because I don't see the whatever. But if I was a magician, I'd be wearing the suit somewhere, going to cosplay festivals, doing my act, handing out my card, like all the time. I think more so than a comic. A comic will do it by but maybe by doing a bit, but it's not an overt advertisement.
So are you alluding to perhaps the necessity for magicians to practice even if no one is watching?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
It's for something like that. I would imagine your skills start to slip pretty quickly if you're not actively doing it. And the
Right.
great part about that thing is you can do it anywhere. You get a
Right.
deck of cards or whatever they use, I don't know, and you literally could just do magic tricks anywhere you are.
All right. So censorship and offense. So does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
Can you ask that question again? It cut out for a second.
Does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
No, I think a comic offends more than a comedian does. I think a comedian. For me, a comedian courts, um, in maybe introspection or thinking about things. Where as a comic, I feel like a comic is just bustable. Like they're just there to get the reaction, the heckler. You have a good time, a bad time. It doesn't matter. They want to see the response immediately. Where I think I want to say that a comedian, in my definition of it, uh, he or she is trying to get more out of you. Like Dave Chappelle is an example of that. You actually have to think. You're laughing, but you're hearing a story and you're actually getting his perspective on what. Jimmy Carr's another one.
Mm-hmm.
He's a storyteller. He's doing his bit, he's doing his act, he's doing crowd work, but he really makes you think about things. And those guys are real bright. So
So then who survives better in the cancel culture environment? The comic, the comedian, the magician, or the mudslinger?
who survives more in a cancel culture environment?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the mudslinger. Because they're preemptive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they like the smoke. Whereas I don't think comedians, definitely not magicians and not they're not, they might be, but they really want to kind of bring people together, even if they're ripping at people. It works against them if I think they're too divisive for the sake of being divisive, right? You split the audience. But the mudslinger doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
They like it. They want to be canceled because that's proof positive that they're slinging enough mud, right? It's like the measure of mudslinging is, oh, they canceled me, good, you know.
Yeah, I would say that's the measure of success. So how about timing and delivery? Is it a science or an art? So do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
Uh, I think it's you're saying is timing more of an art or a science?
Yeah, timing and yeah.
Is that what
Is
you're
it
saying?
more basically?
I mean, it's more of a. I would say it's closer to an art because you have to. I would assume that scientifically you could determine what timing is, but really, it's an experiential thing. You can
Hmm.
just feel when the lull is coming, and that's the point to do it. Whereas with science, it isn't always the same. Maybe there are predictive factors. I don't know them, but
All right. So how about laughter versus applause? So are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks or a primetime Emmy that validate the message?
um, are they chasing applause or? I would say a comedian is probably chasing applause, but they're also chasing the laughs. If the maybe the applause matters more than the laugh. In the applause, in the sense, no, no, I think are they chasing the applause or the laugh? I think what they're chasing is a response, whether it's an applause or a laugh. What they're chasing is a response. They want to know that they're affecting the audience. If they can laugh, good. But sometimes if you make them cry, it's kind of, they get a kick out of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
That's one way. I mean,
So long as I
definitely you
got a
got.
response.
Yeah. I do like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So how about comedy as commentary? So when does a comedian cross into being a philosopher or a preacher?
When he forgets that he's there to serve the audience.
Mm.
I came to the comedy club to laugh or to have an experience. I did not come for philosophy, and I did not come for a lecture.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. If I wanted to, there's YouTube. I can go back to university. If I wanted to listen to philosophy, I would just read Epictetus. I would read Meditations. I would read the Holy Bible. Like, I don't need, you know? I think it's when they forget that why I, as the audience member, came to the comedy club, which is to laugh. It's in the name, to enjoy myself and to be moved somehow, emotionally and spiritually.
I like the spiritual component. So speaking of, Laris, are you ready to enter the multiverse?
Sure.
All right. So board game Zoomcast, play versus performance. If comedy were a board game Zoomcast, are you competing as the colorist, adding tone, mood, and shading, or the Foley artist, building punchlines with soundscapes and timing?
Punchlines, the second one.
Okay, Foley artist. So does comedy work better when it's painted vividly or when it's orchestrated sonically?
Orchestrated sonically.
All right, very consistent. So here on the Comedians and Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the previous guest was Judd Angel. And his question for you, Laris, is which comedians from the past have stood the test of time and why?
Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
Because Charlie Chaplin could write, direct, produce, and act. His work was filled with pathos. And he didn't have the luxury of words. All he had was his body and his expressions. Mm-hmm. And he was able to create works that endured for 100 years. I can watch it today and still laugh.
No.
Right? And I don't have... He wasn't making references to 1910. He was... Yes, that stuff was in his story because that's the world he was living in. But I can empathize with his character. I can empathize. Was it the Tramp? I think that the Tramp was his character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can empathize with his stories. I can enjoy and get lost in what he's doing. And his stuff, in essence, sticks to my imagination. Like, I still remember, him roller skating in modern time. I think it was Modern Times, roller skating around that big hole or near that big hole, like, and him dancing gibberish. I think it might have been also Modern Times as well. Like, these movies, they stick in my imagination. So that Charlie Chaplin is probably the best comic. He's the most versatile for sure.
All right. So last question, legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comic's tight five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
The comedian's point of view.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Laris, where can everybody...
I think the best... No, I just think that the best in any endeavor transcend their respective thing. Like, Eddie Murphy had something to say. Richard Pryor had something to say. And they were philosophers, so to speak, and lecturers, but you didn't know you were being lectured. Dave Chappelle has something to say.
Right.
And so the reason they endure is because they have something to say. And they're not just doing punchlines,
All right. Did Charlie Chaplin have something to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. So
Even though he didn't say it, he didn't have any words.
right. That's why that's pretty much why I'm asking that. So Laris, where can everyone find you online?
LinkedIn, Instagram. My Instagram is at Laris Macario, LarisMacario. LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on YouTube. Yeah, that's for my acting stuff. That's pretty much where I'm at. I also have a YouTube channel, Laris Macario, on YouTube for my acting stuff. I also, if there are any actors out there, I coach Shakespeare at Children of Dionysus, Dionysus. Yeah, same thing, LinkedIn, Facebook, same handle. You just find me there. I'm getting my website up and all that stuff, but I'm still doing all right without the website. So.
Got to have the landing page with the survey questions. That's the key for that part, right? So anyway, so Laris, thank you so much for being my guest. And for everyone, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you very much, folks.
If you're interested in too much information like in the network state or Mantipus the chicken shit, check out this video. Or is it this one right here? Well, either way. Lizard.